It's a new day and it's time for a new wide body flare. So today we're working on the front. So we already finished up the ones on the back right up there, or at least the one on this side. The other one's still in production, but it'll be done soon. So now we need to get this front one on so that way we can get the car officially wide bodied and then back out on the road. So as you may be able to tell, or should be able to tell, I did some patchwork before back when I had these flares on the Supra, and I'm going to need to redo, or not redo, but go over it and make sure that it's all smooth, as well as fix any other nicks and holes. But the first thing that we need to do is tape this flare up onto the car itself and hope that the tape sticks, because we need to reevaluate this little back corner. It kind of flared out away from the Supra, and I'm thinking of cutting a little vent right in here. I'm going to go ahead and tape it up, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, I got the flare on, so here's what I'm talking about. As you can see right there in the middle, where it kind of changes color on the bottom, it pulls away a bit from the flare, or from the car itself. So what I think I'm going to do is cut out that section and go ahead and just make it a flare a bit bigger. Not a flare, sorry, but have it be like a vent, kind of like you see on some, like the RX-7 or something. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple pictures of this. We're gonna go inside, hop on Photoshop, and see if we can get ourselves a render that we kind of like and get the idea of what we're going for. Unfortunately, the design didn't quite turn out as well as it did in my head. Just didn't quite account for the curve as well as I should have. So, I mean, you'll see here, just doesn't really look that great. So, looks like we're sticking with the original. So as you saw with the Photoshop, didn't really work out the way I had envisioned in my head. So we're just gonna skip it. Not gonna do that little cutout. We're just gonna go ahead and bolt it up as is. There will be a little gap there, but you know what? It's not gonna look too bad. So we're just gonna deal with it, which is a-okay. So next step is the same as doing the back flares. We're just going to need to get the correct measurement between the rim of the wheel and the bottom of the flare, and then go ahead and start putting in all the Cleco pins one at a time. So we get them all done, including the front bumper, and get those all held on, and then we'll be good to roll from there. Actually, I forgot a step. I forgot that we need to fill in the holes first. So we're gonna go through the back, put fiberglass over the back of the holes, come through, put the filler on the front, get them all nice and smooth, and then we'll go for that. Completely forgot about that. Let's go ahead and get those all filled. Means we're now able to drill the holes in there and go to the Cleco pins. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just get rolling with that. I did measure the back. I had the distance between the top of the rim and the flare, so we're set to go there. Always want to start with that middle one as we did on that left side, just to make sure you get that little center part correct, and then the rest will file right in. It'll be perfect. I'll set you guys down. Let's get rolling. Going? I did, yeah. I just wanted to get out. Okay, I saw that. I was like, wait, we got rid of the Supra. I did, yeah. Have no fun. Up next. There you go. Appreciate it, man. Take care. You too. Now I'm working on that Trailblazer SF right now. Oh, right on. So. It's always fun to have the projects. Oh, yeah. See you later. Take care, man. we've hit the next dilemma already, and as you could probably tell just by the way once we move across here, that it is that the front of the flare doesn't want to mesh all the way up. So this is partly due to the fact that when I last fixed it here, it didn't quite go particularly correct, because when I got the kit, this is one piece down here, but I had to cut it there because, long story short, I goofed up with the fitment. So what we're planning to do with this next is I think I'm going to go ahead and just take a Dremel and cut it right there all the way across, and then see how well that matches up below, because the idea is if I can get it to match up down, so connect this bottom half here once we cut it, and then have it mesh up here. If I can get that then to fiberglass that from the back half while it's on the car, then I'll be able to have it supported, take it off, refinish everything, and have it be good to go. So again, the plan is just going to cut that off, put that bottom part on there, and then see how well the fitment lines up to see what fixes we can make to make this S13 kit fit on a 300ZX. So, good and bad. Bad is that when you, I'll just get straight to it, if you, line it up to how it was, it doesn't really want to come in. I mean, it kind of does, but at the same time it doesn't because it's hitting the wheel there. So what I'm thinking is I could sneak this up behind just a bit. This edge will pretty well mesh up. And then I think I could do rivet, 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 just to pin it up there. And then I think if I just cut off from here right till there, it'll be flush enough that we'll be able to just fiberglass the rest in and make it all mesh. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a mark right here where I'm going to need to cut this area up. Actually, I take that back. Alright, so we got that patched and letting it set. There will be a little bit of a ridge, but I'm okay with that. As for right now, I'm going to make that work into the design. But I covered it all in tape, mostly to help it hold together because I don't want it drooping, and then it'll also help push the filler into the cracks or into the gap there to make sure that it pushes all the way through. And then once it's done, it should be enough to hold it there so we could fill and put all the strength on the back of the flare. And then once that's done, we'll go back over top, repatch everything, make it look all nice and smooth, and then move on from there. So really happy with how it's going, and then we're on to the next part once that's done. So we're back the next day, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking off the front of this tape and then removing the flare, starting to get some backing on it, getting the structure, and then do the same process that we did in the back flare with smoothing this out. We're going to do the body filler over top, get it all smooth, nice and handy dandy, use the rivet nuts to get it in and get it rolling. So let's just go ahead and take the tape right off and kind of see just how well the structure held up. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. You can't really, it's hard to tell visually, but it's holding it up, which is really all it's meant to do. We're not really going for the looks or anything. The reason I had the tape over top is for a couple reasons. First off, the biggest reason was that way, so that way, so that way, so that way. So the way that the filler would go, as it hardened, it would be pushed into the flare itself, like into the cracks, to get as much structure as it can. That was the biggest reason. The second biggest reason was that way so the flare wouldn't be as much out. So that way, as it pushed it flat, it just makes it easier for me to sand it down and get it prepped for the body filler. So one little issue, if you could even really call it that, is that I realized I didn't cut right here on the fender line, which is fine, because we're going to have to cut it again anyway. But the plan for this is, if you didn't know, fiberglass kind of takes the shape of the way it's bolted to over time. So like this flare is meant for an S13, but I ran it on my Supra, so if you try to put it on an S13 again, it wouldn't line up correctly. So the plan is that once you do this and get it all hard, we're going to mount it up directly to the bumper itself and have it all bolted in and just sitting there. Even as we work on the front bumper, So that way by the time the front bumper is done and we're ready to cut, or to have it as two separate pieces between the top of the flare and the bottom of the flare, it'll be in that correct shape, so that way we don't have to do any extra molding and shaping or fiberglass work. Once you do it, we'll be able to cut it and it'll be able to retain the shape that it has. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the Cleco pins off and then bring that front flare to the table to work on, and we'll just go ahead and get rolling right along with that. Alright, quick interruption before we get back to work. So I let that all set, and then we're going to go ahead and sand this all down. And I believe this may be the only layer that we need to do. If not, the priming will expose any weaknesses that we had. So the plan from here is we're going to go ahead and sand this all down, see where we're at, and then go ahead and start screwing it in. I need to make a stop at the hardware store because I'm out of M6 size rib nuts, but not too concerned, baby, because we're going to get to work. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this all sanded up and smooth. So I lost a couple of files, unfortunately, transferring them over because my SD card reader on my laptop stopped working, so I have to put them on another computer, then transfer them over to a thumb drive, and so unfortunately lost a few, but all you guys missed was me sanding the filler and then painting it or priming it. So anyway, that's all you missed. I'll show you guys where we're at though. So we have finished and we got it on, and it's looking pretty snazzy. That angle is actually looking kind of sharp and will work in well with the front bumper design that we have. I did have to Cleco pin it on because I'm a dingus and I ran out of M6 sized rib nuts, which is what I'm using. So I had to order some because they don't have them at my hardware store, which is a bit of a bummer. So they're ordered and on their way in, so that's just Cleco pinned in now, so that way you can continue to get the form of the shape of the car as what I talked about before, because this is essentially fiberglass kind of feels like a fluid where it just takes the form of whatever shape it's in. So happily letting it sit there until the rib nuts come in, so that's good. As we come to the other side, this side is also done. So now we have 4 flares done. 1, 2, this side's the back, and of course the one we started all off with. So I'm very happy with this right now. This is turning out better than I thought. It's moving a bit quicker than I thought it would be, which is great considering all the work we're having to do. So this is great. The filling part isn't 100% done with smoothing out. I know some of you will see things like this and say, hey, focus there, bud. Say, hey Philip, this isn't quite finished. So I do understand that. This is kind of what I'm trying to do, is get the pretty much the 90% shape done, so that way I can get it on the car, and then we'll come back in. There's so many dents here as we're filling the dents on the car. We're gonna hit these one last time with the filler, sand it, smooth it, prime it, everything, so it's all good to go. But as for now, I really just want to get it to set to the shape of the car first. So moving on to what's next, which is going to be for the next video. We're going to be doing the side skirts, getting them re-prepped and mounted and all lined up and good to go. So I said we're going to do the front bumper, but I forgot we need to do the side skirts first because they will set what will be the lowest part of the car as they cut down, or as they're set in. Yeah, they'll set the bottom part of the car, which I need, so that way I can correctly do the front, because this is a stock bumper and we're going to be working with that. So anyway, that's the plan. We're going to attack the side skirts in the next video. But as for this one, it's pretty much, or this video is done. I mean, so I'm really happy with how this turned out. Once again, please let me know what you guys are thinking actually about the design. I really want to hear you guys' input. I had this vision in mind and I think it's going to be really awesome, but I do want to know what you guys think. Please give me suggestions because, I mean, honestly, with this car, it wasn't at all, or it wasn't exactly what I was expecting to do when I bought this car. But I'm excited for the project that this is going to be. So this will turn out really well. I'm really excited about it. Do the usual. Dislike, unsubscribe, hit in the comments, look at the Patreon. Bye!